it's Reagan, and today I'm here to bring you a non-spoiler review of The Empress by S.J. Kincaid. Now this is the Proustopia book club pick of the month for the month of November, and this month we are working with Simon Teen. The Empress is the sequel to The Diabolic, which I read and reviewed last year, which I'll leave linked down below. So just to keep that in mind, if you haven't read The Diabolic yet, while this review is non-spoiler, it might kind of spoil to some of the events that happened in the first book, so I'd really recommend either reading or watching that review first before checking this one out. But without further ado, let's just go ahead and dive right in. So just generally speaking, I really enjoyed this book. I was a huge fan of the first one. I thought it was a really unique YA read. If you're not familiar, the Diabolic series is set in a galactic futuristic society. It's set in space, and there's a lot of different colonies, a lot of different groups, and it's mostly actually set on starships. This particular world, though, while being futuristic, is also very regressive. Essentially, it is a religious society that basically has banned all science, which is interesting because it contrasts with, but they use incredibly advanced and high-tech technology, but all that technology they don't actually know how to create or even use. It's ancient. It was made by the generations that came before them, so no one is actually allowed to understand how that technology works, but they can use it. So it's definitely an interesting dichotomy in that way. In the Diabolic, this world is incredibly corrupt. The government rules with fear. It's essentially the high class, the wealthy, and then everyone else who is ruled with incredible cruelty, and it's honestly quite horrible, to put it simply. The story follows our main character Nemesis, who is a humanoid individual who is created for the sole purpose of protecting an individual. Nemesis is strong, she's incredibly factual, and she just, to put it simply, kicks butt hard. She is stronger than any other type of human because she is crafted to kill. At the beginning of the story, she's realized that the only way to protect the one that she loves most, she has to actually impersonate her and pretend to be her at the Galactic Council, as that is like a ring of wolves. It's incredibly dangerous. It's a lot of political intrigue. So Nemesis goes there, gets wrapped up in a lot of politics, and begins to feel something similar to humanity. And we follow her as she explores her new emotions, kind of falls in love, and then experiences political upheaval. And that is where we start with this second book here. This book basically takes place just a few months after the events of the first book, which was quite the whirlwind, let me tell you. There was a lot that happened in the first book, and you're just like, what? How are they gonna do it? At the beginning of the story, it really is about Nemesis and Tyrus trying to navigate this incredibly delicate political landscape that they have to control and keep their rule in line and also be successful. This story, though, is a lot more than anything I could have possibly imagined. I'm not gonna lie, the first 150 pages, I was kind of like, oh, this is good. The plot was kind of slow, and I felt like some of the devices were used to be a little convenient. But there is a point in this book, the point of no return, if you will, where you'll just be like, what? And the ending of this book, I was like, what? I did not see that coming at all. To start out, Nemesis as our main character in this book is honestly, I just really love reading from her perspective. It is just so different. Obviously, she's kind of explored her humanity. She's recognizing that she has emotions, but that doesn't mean she's experienced with her emotions in any way, or that she's kind of lost her incredibly factual point of view. So because of that, it's really funny to read from her perspective as she's encountering different things. She'll be like, Tyrus, should I kill this person? And he's like, no, stop, what are you doing? Or she'll recognize that she is a friend, and she's like, you're my only friend. And say really awkward but quite true things to people, and it kind of just is fun and funny, but also just in general offers unique perspective because she's not really bogged down by social expectations because she doesn't have any understanding of them at all. So reading from her perspective I thought was very unique. I will say, in terms of other characters, this was one element of this book I just missed from the first book. The first book had such a broad cast of characters that contrasted Nemesis's factual kind of cold personality. In this novel we didn't get that as much, so I would say it definitely leaned darker because of that. We didn't really have a lot of levity or humor to kind of counteract some of the crazy dark political stirrings that are happening in this book. It's not so much something that's bad, it is something that, however, I missed from the first novel, which I hope is present in the next one. I just wish there was more humor and friends that Nemesis could interact with and kind of bounce off. That being said, the political and the world in this novel was, in my opinion, cracked open. We got to visit so many new places that were only kind of mentioned in the first book, so it was so great to actually see it in person. Not to mention, I just feel like this world has one of the most interesting and unique political systems plus history systems that I've read in a sci-fi novel. This whole idea of a society that is centered and based in using technology, starships, medbots, and the ability to control and own these things is very important to people's power. But they don't understand how they work at all, and the fact that learning and science itself is outlawed, those things working together I just feel like is so interesting. Not to mention, we also kind of get to dive a little deeper in the religious system in this novel as we meet someone that is very important to their society in this, and I thought that was really cool. Just learning more about different areas in this space as well as different like colonies and stuff, I just thought was very interesting. The great thing about sci-fi novels, if done well like this one does, the world is literally endless because we're in outer space. I also felt like it was well done because on the flip side of that, it could be super overwhelming if there's just endless amounts of information being dumped on you, but I felt like the author did a really good job sorting through all of it and just kind of revealing things as it made sense. In terms of the plot, I kind of hinted to this in the beginning of my review. I really liked it. I'm not gonna lie, in the beginning, I thought it was a little slow. Some things kind of happened a little conveniently for me. But then, like I said, during the second half of the book, everything began to pick up and I was like astonished left and right. This book definitely took a darker turn, and I definitely feel like it took risks that I don't often see in YA stories. Things that you expect to be wrapped up nicely might not be, because that's not really sometimes how the world works, even in outer space, and I really appreciated the author went there. Nemesis as a main character I feel like had some really interesting arcs. She kind of came into her humanity in the last book, but that doesn't mean she understands all the emotions and feelings that she began to feel from the first book into this second book, so seeing her kind of have to grapple with her own selfishness and realize what it means to other people, the idea of love and friendship and all of those things. I just found that to be a really captivating part of this novel, especially with Nemesis. Being said, I really enjoyed this book. I cannot wait for the third one. I feel like this book was setting up a lot of stuff for the next novel, kind of expanding the world, setting a foundation for all of the action that we're about to experience. Hello, I seriously cannot wait for the next one. I'm not even kidding, I sat down to read like 20 pages of this book last night and then I read all of it, like the rest of it. I was like halfway through, I'm like, I'll read 20 more pages and make dinner. And then I read the whole entire second half in one sitting because holy crap. At the end of the day, I really enjoyed this novel. I ended up giving it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I took off a few stars just because I felt like the beginning was a little slow, but like I said, it really picks up, so I really highly recommend picking this novel up. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed my non-spoiler review of The Empress by S.J. Kincaid, and I will see you guys soon in another video soon. Goodbye!